Namaskar and welcome to HinduPost. Today we are talking about a very sensitive issue which unfortunately has not received the kind of attention it should have internationally as well as within Bharat. We are talking about the persecution of Bangladeshi Hindus and other minorities, which has become a very concerning thing since Sheikh Hasina's ouster. The persecution has been happening for decades, but the situation has become really dire since this so called student revolution took place. So, today we are joined by Mr. Johar, who is a human rights activist based out of Bangladesh. And he and his team have been doing a great job of collating the evidence of all the human right abuses, especially against the Hindu community. Uh, so, Jauharji, just tell us about how this project started and what are your thoughts about how the situation is developing right now.
Um, so before I go to the project about gathering evidence, maybe I start with a common notion because, I mean, although you said the communal violence that is happening in Bangladesh since the ousted of Hasina government, but it has been long existed in Bangladesh. So normally, Bangladesh has been portrayed as a country of communal harmony, that Hindus or other minorities live peacefully in Bangladesh with Muslims. But is it true, or is it the opposite? That this narrative, or in my personal opinion, I say propaganda, um, is to subdue the voices of Hindus and other minorities, so that they don't raise their voices to gain their rights. So I'd like to go back a little bit in time. Pardon me, I got a little bit of cold, so my voice, I hope, is audible properly. So let's go a little bit back in time. In 1946, there was a great massacre of Hindus in Noakhali, which is known as Noakhali riots. Even Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi went there. You know, it is estimated that around 5 to 10,000 Hindus went missing, basically massacred. So you see, even before that, the India uh, and Pakistan existed, because Bangladesh was a part of Pakistan, is known as East Pakistan. So this kind of massacre, the targeted atrocities, the targeted killing, targeted forceful conversion on Hindus in Bangladesh has been always happening. So now let's move a little bit after 1946. So 1947, when the division occurred. So even that time, we know that there was a great massacre happened in in Punjab, in Bangla, in both sides. And then we know the Pakistan came to exist. But even after Pakistan came to exist, some the Hindu leaders, Jogen Mandal, decided to stay in Bangladesh because nobody wants to leave their parental and ancestral home. So, but the the targeted discrimination on Hindus never stopped. So the properties of Hindus are declared enemy property. So can you think that your own property has been declared as enemy property, eh, and you are the son and daughter of that land? So that happened during the 1960s and 70s, the time period I'm talking about, that enemy property was declared. And there was a widespread harassment of Hindus, and the properties were forcefully taken. And then, of course, 1971 happened, the liberation war of Bangladesh. So according to the Geneva jurist, the committee was built up. Even they say that there was the targeted attack to, let's say, wipe out the Hindus in Bangladesh, and that is has been proven statistics after statistics. So it is estimated 3 million people were martyred during the liberation war in 1971, and majority of them are Hindus. And because most of the families were wiped out, because if all the members of a family wipe out, there will be no one to speak about, hey, I got killed, because the murder never speaks for themselves. So what happened after 1971? Did Hindus get their own rights? Because now there is a new country, they're free from the oppression of Pakistan. But that never stopped. Even after 1971, the so-called enemy properties that has been annexed during the 1960 and 70, that remained. Nobody bothered to abolish this hateful discriminatory law. Then I move a little bit forward, because we don't have that much time to go every details that happened in the history. So during 1989, that time, the foundation of Ram temple that was laid. To that time, it was disputed structure. And after that foundation laid for the Ram temple, um, there was a widespread targeted attack on Hindus. So the women got raped, the temples got burned, and so on and so forth. And 1992, when so-called disputed Babri Mosque was demolished, so there was another wave of attacks. So many Hindu women were raped, so many Hindu houses were robbed, so many temples were burned, and this continued. So that time in 1992, from October to November, and after that time, the attacks continued. Now I got little bit to, let's say, so-called recent time. So in recent time, for example, if we go to 2012, so in 2012, so-called Hasina government was in the power. So at that time, so in the Cox's Bazar of Bangladesh, so there was we call it Ramu Shohingshota in Bengali. So basically violence in Ramu, you can say, literal translation. So a Buddha temple was burned to ashes, literally burned to ashes. And 2013, so after 2012, I am giving you some large scale attacks and waves of attacks that happened, because I cannot go into every details. So in 2013, so that time, there was a tribunal was set to to bring justice to the war crimes that happened during 1971. And that time, the vice president of Jamaat Islami, Delor Hossein Saidi, was convicted. The tribunal provided a verdict that he should receive capital punishment for the crimes he committed in 1971. And that time, there was another wave of attack across the country. Even with all the might that Hasina government had, she could not prevent the attacks on Hindus. And after 2020, in 2014, there was a general election. And after every election, the Hindus are always targeted, because they are thought so-called vote bank of Awami League. And even that time, so in Prathamal, one of the leading newspaper, they published a picture, a fabricated picture. There was a long queue of women standing outside of the booth, and they fabricated and put, a sidurs, the vermilion, on the forehead of the women's, because the Bengali married Hindu women wear sidurs and sakas, just to provide the idea that Hindus are largely voting for Awami League. And after that 2014 general election in Bangladesh, there was another wave of attack on Hindus that happened. And let's then go back to the 2016, because by the way, these events are happened during the regime, the Hasima regime. In 2016, there was another attack called Nasir Nagar Sampradayagata, which you can translate to the violent Nasir Nagar violence. There is a recipe in Bangladesh, that someone said offensive to Islam, and then they declare in the local mosques, hundreds or thousands of strong mob gather, and then they demolish the houses, specifically Hindus or religious minorities. So during 2016, this Nasrinagar violence, similar thing happens. 2017, so-called known as Gongachara violence, similar thing happens, that said, hey, someone posted something hurtful against our religion in Facebook, and then of course a strong mob of hundreds or thousands came out and wreaked the havoc on the Hindus. And then 2021, so it's known as Raktakto Sharad. You can translate it as a bloody Sharad, you can say. So during that time, widespread attack across the Bangladesh on Hindus happened. Again, this was also the time of Hasina government. And that also happened 2022. Similar things happened, continue to happen. From college child was uh, went to the custody, sent to jail because they posted something. And I have to tell that becoming hard, that the sentiments got hard, the right to get hearted for anything posted on Facebook belongs to one community, Bangladesh. It doesn't matter it got proved in court. It doesn't matter the investigation is still waiting. There'll be always mob justice, because almost every case that it is proven that so-called someone posted, that someone even did not have Facebook account. because in later investigation it was proved that this Nasirnagar violence I talked about on 2016, that the person that they blamed that he posted something harmful on Facebook against Islam, he did not had a Facebook account at all. And this recipe that someone posted something hurtful on Facebook continued, but this is just an excuse that never needed any kind of, because it's in Bangladesh, it's kind of, you can go because Hindus are the soft target, you can go rob their houses, take their lands, forceful conversion to girls, abduction. This is common thing. And now I'll come to the 2024. So all these incidents I said, so what one thing proves that there was never a so-called communal harmony in Bangladesh. Hindus were always the target because of their religious identity. It is as simple. Be it BNP government, Bangladesh National Party, be it Awami League government led by Sheikh Hasina, or be it current interim government led by Dr. Muhammad Yunus, the situation of Hindus never changed. During 2001 to 2005, that time the Khaleda Zia was the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. It is estimated more than 10,000 Hindu girls are raped, and many of them are forcefully converted to Islam. I don't know, people. Some people like you might know, but most of the people doesn't know. So most of the time, when these kind of things happen, the barbaric things happen, this rapes, murder, or something, in especially in case of rape, it doesn't come out to light. It does not get published to local newspaper or international newspaper. So if, let's say, 500 incidents came out to light, published in newspaper, you can think that maybe 10, 15 times more incidents actually happened, because for the fear of their life, for to save their honor. Because sometimes, because we are a conservative society, that if a girl has been raped, is known to everyone, then the parents think that she might not got married to someone. So this is another reason. And of course there is no justice, because if you go to police, you go to admin, nobody bothers, nobody cares to give justice.
So that
Now,
incident you're talking about, I think that is one very horrific part of that 2001 pogrom was 200 women getting raped in Bhola district,
yes,
from ages 8 to 70. And
yes,
I
I
think
mean,
one of the most horrific cases was Purnima Sheel, a 12 or 13
yes.
year old girl. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, yes. So the incident that you mentioned in Vola. So from child to 70-year-old widowed women. So nobody got spared. I mean, I am still speaking, but I cannot imagine what happened to that time. So from child to widowed woman, a 70-year-old widowed woman, it's 10-year-old child, someone said it's the 5-year-old child, doesn't matter, a child to a 17-year-old woman, every woman, it is said that every woman that village on that time got raped. And another incident, Purnima Shil, unfortunately that came to light, that her mother said, hey, my child is so small, please don't go all of you together, she will die, please some of you come to me. Can you imagine that of course this is the plight of a mother, that she wanted to save a child, but can you imagine a situation that in which situation a mother says that, hey, don't go all of you together to my child.
Yeah, and I'm sharing
And
that just a write up of that incident on the screen here for our viewers.
yeah, this was in Ullapara in Shirazganj. And the thing is that the only one Purnima Shil came to spotlight. I not I think spotlight would be the wrong word to choose, but let's say it came to published in newspaper. But there were thousands of Purnima Shil during that time, thousands of thousands. In every district, in every thana, there was a victim, and that was a law. There was I mean, probably several thousands girls were forcefully. I mean, raped and then got converted, and then said, hey, the girl accepted the religion of peace and so on, blah 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 blah. But that was not the reality. From Professor Muhuri in Chittagong to and everywhere, the Hindus were brutally murdered. If you search in Google Professor Muhuri, you will see a person's, the head is here, the brain is coming out. That is how he got killed. But the worst thing is these incidents are always somehow suppressed by government. They did not wanted to get out and published, because it's like, it's like a tsunami. So in sea, you see there is always some waves, big waves, small waves coming out. In case of tsunami, and in case of normal time, we don't see those waves, because when they came to the shore, it's like subdued and it's a normal, calm and peaceful. But there is always big waves in sea. But in case of tsunami, nobody can contain it, so it's like everywhere. So in Bangladesh, there has been always attacks. So every month, almost every day, there has been attack on Hindus since last
But do you
decade.
think it would be fair to say that under Sheikh Hasina, the intensity of violence was lower than it has been under the BNP and Jamaat coalition governments? Uh, because we have seen an explosion of violence which was happening. I totally agree with you, and we've been covering this, that even under Sheikh Hasina there are elements within Awami League who are Islamist. Sheikh Hasina had also, I believe, done some kind of an arrangement with Hifazat-e-Islam. But at least some of the more extremist groups like Al Qaeda uh, and other extremists, they were at least she acted against them. So since her
Go on.
ouster, how have things become even worse?
Before I come to that conclusion, so you can say, so it's like comparing which poison is much more better. So you get killed by drinking both of the poison. So because to me, in my personal opinion, during the Sheikh Hasina regime, there was a political stability in Bangladesh. Nobody would deny that. There was a large infrastructure development, economic development. But when it comes to Hindus, so like you mentioned, there was some militia groups, Harkatul Jihad, and like ISIS supported several groups. We know there was the incident that happened in Gulshan and so on and so forth. These kind of militia groups, yeah, got controlled by Hasina. But if you think, um, because those kind of militia groups target as a bigger to establish a Khilafat, a Islamic country, and so on and so forth.
They
So
were a
these,
threat to the Bangladesh government and to her regime itself. So that is why she acted against them. Absolutely.
yeah, exactly, because this is also like, because if they succeed, of course Hasina would not be in power. But if you compare the atrocities on Bangladesh, no, like I already give you example, 2012, 2013, 2016, 2018, 2017, 2021. I can go in and go out. I have the statistics, I have the incidents, and most of them are also in public domain. So to give you a small example, so before I mean, there was a IGP, the police chief called Benazir Hussain. He himself, allegedly, let's say, because you cannot provide all the evidence, allegedly, let's say, forcefully grabbed land of Hindus, even in Gopalganj. Gopalganj is known as the home turf of Hasina, and there is a significant chunk of Hindus living there. So this Banerjee, Mr. Banerjee was the police chief, IGP, in Bangladesh, and he's also allegedly. It's not. I use the allegedly because, of course, it's not proved in the trial court, but he grabbed lots of land. So if a police chief in a country forcefully grabs land of a particular community, what do you say? What do you? I mean, what does it say about the government? Of course, if you say, okay, hey, during the time of 2001 to 2005, there were 10,000, approximately 10,000 or more Hindu girl or women were raped, forcefully converted. But in during the Hasina period, maybe it was 500 or thousands. Then, of course, you can say it was relatively peaceful. But for me, is both of them are poisonous. You will die. It's like, for me, it's like, which poison is better? But to me, in the end, I'll die by drinking both of the poison. So that was the thing. And like you mentioned, Hasina also allowed right-wing religious extremists like Hafazat Islami and others to grow in political domain, grow also in academic domain. So of course this will be hard to prove, but if you have followed, of course if you followed the Bangladesh politics, you see this. The actually Hasina died by the Frankenstein she made. I mean, some of the political analysts say that Hasina actually got died in the hand of the Frankenstein she made. So that is my answer to that Hasina regime. And now come to the events of
Okay, and
2024
let me just also
August.
share once. Yeah, before we get there, to
Mhm.
just to add to your point, I want to share this study which was done by a
Professor
professor of
Abul
Dhaka
Barakar.
University,
Yeah.
Professor Abul Barakat. Yeah, so this is from 2016, and he predicted that no Hindus will be left after 30 years in Bangladesh. And so, pretty damning evidence over here of an average of 600 Hindus leaving the country each day, and about 2 lakh annually, more than 2 lakh annually. So absolutely, what you're saying is, correct. That for Hindus, uh, although the perception is created that Sheikh Hasina is secular or progressive, but the reality is that Islamism has taken such deep roots in Bangladeshi society that persecution of Hindus continues. But yes, it has escalated to a level not seen earlier since the regime change that took place. So
Yeah,
anyway, can you
absolutely.
just talk more about that? How have events unfolded since then? What the situation is today, and how do we go forward?
You mean the incidents that happened after the ousted of Hasina since 5th August 2024?
Correct. Let's talk a little
Yes.
bit about that.
So after 5th August, I mean, not even after 5th August, I'd say from the late night of 4th August, when there was a news widespread that Hasina is leaving, and so on and so forth. So the attack started. And attack started specifically, I would like to reiterate, specifically targeting Hindus. And someone, before I go some details, someone say, hey, the attacks that happened on Hindus are politically motivated because they were army supporters. Absolutely not. Of course, there are few incidents, very few incidents, 6 to 7 incidents happened where actually the victim, the Hindu victim, was affiliated with the Army League. Now my question is, okay, let's say I, for example, for theoretical conversation, affiliated with Army League. You can attack me, you can attack my house. When you attack the whole village, when you attack the Hindu temples, what Hindu temples, what the idols of Durga Ma, what the idols of Kali Ma has to anything to do with Army League politics? In Priyarganj, there was a place, Rayar Kola. I don't say the names of victim. A small child was got raped. A child. What a child has to do with Army League politics? So if hundreds of Hindu houses has been targeted and looted and robbed, burned to ashes, what has to do with the Army League politics? In Mirzapur, the ISKCON temple, probably you have seen that the picture was widespread, that the ISKCON temple was burned to ashes. What a ISKCON temple has to do with Army League politics? When my house has been burned, when the women got sexually assaulted, what has to do with the politics of Army Leagues? So this is absolutely lie. That a propaganda that was spread by the interim government, that after 5th August, when there was as the Hindu households are burned, the temples are burned, they're robbed of their every belongings, the women's were raped, the men were killed. A 60-year-old Hindu couple was killed, and he has nothing to do with the Army League politics. You know, there was also there is a famous singer called Rahul Anando. His house was burnt, and there were around 2000. I don't remember the exact number, but something around, maybe less, I don't remember the exact number, that the musical instruments were burnt, the broken into pieces. We know who hate musics and musical instrument, and nobody can claim in Bangladesh that Rahul Anando is affiliated any kind of political party or anything. So yes, so you are sharing a news clip that attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh not communal. This is absolutely lie. So Dr. Muhammad got Nobel Prize on peace, but he has achieved anything but peace in Bangladesh. So from 5th August to 20th August, one of the leading newspaper, Prathamal and Daily Star, published a report that around 2000 plus incidents. So I again reiterate that a report published by Prathamalu and both in Daily Star, that from 5th August to 20th August, more than 2000 attacks happened on Hindu establishment and households and temples only during 5th to 20th August. And it is also known in the Bangladesh political domain that the Prothomalo is kind of, let's say, they support this kind of government. So there was another documentary by BBC. So the Heart and Soul, the plight of Bangladeshi Hindus. Even that reporter was actually roaming around Bangladesh to justify that if the claims are true, that the Hindus are really under attack, and if they're really under attack because of their identity or for political affiliation. She even, I can share the link of that podcast, the Heart and Soul, the plights of Hindus in Bangladesh, that she even got attacked because she was, capturing evidence. She was taking interview. People were stopping them. Hey, you cannot take interview, you cannot ask them what happened. So not so many people talk about that podcast and the documentary. Even BBC kept mum even after their reporter was, let's say, assaulted. So you see why it's hard to prove that there's the targeted atrocities happening on Hindus, because they don't allow the news to come in any kind of local or international newspaper, and that is why.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we are having some issue with the network. Can you just repeat that last part? The BBC reporter was attacked.
There is a there was a podcast by BBC reporter. It is called Heart and Soul. I can find it you and send you the link later. And in that, the reporter was actually investigating that the claim that Hindus are, let's say, uh, attacked, their temples are vandalized, their houses getting robbed, looted, women's getting raped, sexually molested, and so on and so forth. She roamed across the Bangladesh, and she provided evidence by, let's say, taking interviews from the first hand witness. And she even in a place got almost assaulted, but her two companions got assaulted, and she narrowly escaped the assault because people are stopping her to, hey, you cannot take interview, you cannot take videos. uh, so that is how, because they did not like that the things gets comes out. So this is what things, because if things doesn't get come out, if the attacks that happening on Hindus doesn't comes out, then people like Dr. Muhammad Yunus easily can claim nothing is happening, everything is good, we are people living in peace and harmony. There was another picture that was circulated, that some of the people with traditional Islamic attire was actually protecting temples, and this picture was widely spread in every newspaper, even in international newspaper. Hey, see, the Muslims are protecting Hindu temples. My question is, protecting from whom? If everything is good, everything is nice, then why do you need protection? The second question, if a single person with Islamic attire can protect a temple or Hindu house, what will happen if it's not Islam? But if I go with dhutis, or let's say a Hindu women with shakas and shudurs, will it be the same impact? My point is it because the Muslim person is standing in front of the temple, or let's say so-called Hindu houses, attack is not happening because the attire is more important? That, hey, this is our fellow brother, so we don't attack, you know. But most important question, if everything is fine, why do you need protection, and from whom? The
And
repeated
just
question
to
is.
add here, this is a propaganda tactic also in some ways, because even in Bharat, we have
Mhm,
seen that whenever there is any kind of violence by Islamist mobs, so
mhm,
you will also, you will soon start seeing such news also coming out that the Muslims of the locality have gathered and they protected a temple. This happened
mhm,
in Karnataka when there was rioting in Bengaluru some time back.
mhm.
So you are absolutely right. You know that the narrative building, the narrative warfare is also, they are very aware about that, the Islamists, and they try to create this perception that it was some outside forces, or there was some conspiracy behind this violence, and that the local population was living together in peace. So we see these common tactics being used all over the subcontinent.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, this is so-called narrative of communal harmony and peace. These are nothing but a tactics or like propaganda to subdue Hindu voices. All, let's say, so that the international voices doesn't raise their voice. That, hey, this is going on. And I'll give you another a couple, let's say, couple of examples how Hindus are actually attacked in a targeted way. So just to give a contradictory comment by Dr. Mohammad Yunus, the first, when the interim government was formed, the Brigadier Sakhat was in charge of the Home Ministry. So even after the first waves of attack, he gave a statement and asked for, let's say, he apologized to the Hindu community or religious community that hey, this is happening, this should not happen. And if after he, let's say, gave this statement, couple of days later he was actually reassigned to another ministry. So if anyone compare with the statement of the Brigadier Shakot, he was that time in the charge of the Home Ministry, and compare with the statement of Dr. Muhammad Yunus, you'll see they're total contradictory. And I give a recent example. On 3rd March, there was an interview taken by BBC with Dr. Muhammad Yunus, and the journalist asked Dr. Muhammad Yunus that what his government is doing, that the situation, the law and order situation is getting worse and worse. So Dr. Muhammad Yunus said, worse in which scale? So he basically asked for a point of reference, that the comparing with which statistics that they're saying the current situation is worse, because he said he thinks the situation is same as it is to be earlier. When the journalist says that according to the Bangladesh police, 50% more robbery has been happening right now, then he said his typical words, that we are trying everything. What's the problem? There are many problems. So anybody can read that interview and find the contradicts in Dr. Muhammad Yunus. And just to tell you, today is 9th March. The Dhaka University, which is situated in the center of the Dhaka, from last midnight, the students of the Dhaka University, specifically the girl student, have been in the Shahbag. They are actually protesting. We want justice. We want justice because of the rapes that's happening across the country, from child to young women to elderly women. There has been completely lawlessness, that the girls are being abducted at broad light right from road, they're taken from the home. So now my question is, you will see, if you check the newspaper today, you'll find that the students of the Dhaka University, they are protesting. Students of the Jahangirnagar University, they are protesting. Rashtra University, they are protesting. My question is, if everything is fine, why they are protesting? that we want justice, the women should be safe, and so on and so forth. Couple of days earlier, just before the International Women's Day, a man allegedly, let's say, hazed two women. Uh, he was actually sent to jail in Shahbag Thana, and then the so-called Tawhidi Janata is in Bangladesh. People with Islamic attire and who are actually kind of extremists are known as Tawhidi Janata. Tawhidi Janata came and made a situation that that person was actually given bail, without even investigation. But there is already proof in the public domain that he harassed those two students from Dhaka University. Even in Gulshan, Gulshan is so called,
Yes,
let's
yes.
posh area in Bangladesh.
It's a very
There
posh
are,
area.
yeah,
Hmm.
consulates of various countries. So this is also a sensitive zone in a way, because there are diplomats living there. There was a mob. It went to a house, and it was already live in TV, in Facebook, but the law enforcement was nowhere to be seen. After half an hour, when they ransacked the house and so on and so forth, the law enforcement came. And now I came back to the old point again. Sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to add one more thing. So just recently, I think it was a couple of days back. Let me just share this out. So there was a march for the return of the Khilafat in
Yeah,
Dhaka, and the banned terror organization Hizb ut-Tahrir was seen, and I believe there were also people waving flags of Islamic State and other extremist groups.
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, you are bringing so many information. They are
So this
correlated.
is one thing which has again gone under the radar. Hmm, hmm.
So, as you shared the picture,
Carry
if
on.
you okay. So Hizbut Tahrir, as you said, is a banned outfit in Bangladesh. My question is, if it's banned, how come it, let's say, um, I mean, take out a public procession in open space? Not a single arrest was done on that day. Basically, police was in front of the procession, and they are like protesting, and there was not a single arrest was done. So if it's a banned organization, as far as my minimal understanding of law, there should be arrest because it's banned. Why it was not arrested?
True,
And
and
you know
we've been
what
seeing
else?
other terrorists also being released.
Yes,
I think a couple of months back, Ansarut Bangla terrorist, which is an Al Qaeda affiliated group, they have been released. And then on the other hand, we have the Hindu monk Chinmay Prabhuji, who is still in jail. It's been what, I think about 3 to 4 months now.
yeah. I mean, he got arrested, I believe, in November 25. The date can be a little bit here and there, but around that time. So we can come to that point. So so after this regime is changed, everyone expected there will be some change, you know and Hindus are also among that hey, because as I said, even during the Hasina government, the attacks, the targeted attacks, the forceful land grabbing, vandalism of temples, forceful conversion was happening. Somehow it was subdued by the government, so that these things doesn't comes to out to the newspapers and so on. So Hindus also expected, because before Dr. Muhammad Yunus take the charge of the interim government, he was well respected person in the global arena because he's a Prize laureate. So we
And he's
also
also
had.
very close to the Clinton family. Let me just add that.
Yes, that we know. But as in general, he I would say, I would like to use a past tense. He was a well respected person. So everybody had a kind of expectation. Maybe something good come out of it. Might be, because you have no other option because the government has changed already. And Hindus also had this same kind of ambition that, okay, it had that. I mean, it's not that. We were good in Hasina government. Maybe we can expect something better. And oil But after the 5th of August, waves after waves after waves of attack on Hindus, specifically targeting. Uh, even in some incidents, some people shouted "Narai Takbir, Allahu Akbar" and attacked. You know what kind of people do that? There's nothing to do with politics or anything, but to religious identities. So Hindus thought, okay, then we also we can ask for our rights that have been we deprived of. So and there was of course the fear of attacks, one after attack on in Hindu households, Hindu women's temples, and so on forth. So the Hindus basically raised their voices that, hey, stop those attacks and bring the perpetrator to justice. Nothing but simple two things. So the Chinmoy Krishna Das Prabhu and the Shombilito Hindu Jagaran Jot, let's say I'm speaking in Bengali, so you can say as a coalition of Hindu Jagaran Jot. So they asked, if I summarize these 8 points, they raised that the perpetrators, they are doing these atrocities, heinous crimes on Hindus, should be bring to justice. The compensation, let's say that the house got robbed, the vandalized, arsons, uh, those victims should be compensated. A tribunal has to be formed so that Hindu rights gets, uh, Hindus doesn't get deprived of their rights. The rights are ensured. So these are the rights that raised by the Chinmay Krishna Prabhu and the other Hindu leaders, and they did procession in Chittagong, in Rangpur. However, because Hindus said, "Hey, I want justice," the perpetrators should be bring to should see justice, and the victim should get compensation. These legitimate process get tagged that these are the agents of India. These are the forces of Army League. They are trying using these Hindus because Hindus are tagged, so-called tagged as the army vote bank. Their Army League is trying to get in the power using the backdoor, using the Hindus. And so the first big procession, literally hundreds of thousands people joined. I have the pictures. Unfortunately, no newspaper, published news in that sense. Hundreds of thousands of, let's say, around 4 or 5 lakhs of Hindus joined in the first procession in Chittagong, because out of their fear of life, they wanted to protect their child, they wanted to protect their daughter, women, they wanted to live a dignified life, they wanted to uh, profess their own religion, they wanted to fight for their identity. So these first protests happened in Chittagong. That was a summary of the protest. That, hey, we want justice, we want to profess our religion, we want to live with our own identity because we are the sons and daughter of this land. And after that procession on Chittagong, there was a indiscriminate arrest of Hindus targeting their leaders who are actually leading this protest. These are harassment. Of course, you can understand harassment case without any kind of proofs, evidence. They're just sending them to jail. And then the second protest happened in Rangpur. This was also a big protest. Several lakhs people joined, and the same demands that, hey, please stop those attacks, the targeted attacks on Hindus. Please bring the perpetrators to justice. Provide compensation to victims. As you're sharing the screen, you see hundreds of thousands actually joined this protest. But again, these legitimate protests, because this is a democracy till now in pen and papers, Bangladesh is a democratic country, and you have every right to demonstrate a peaceful protest as long as it's peaceful. And every protest you see, it was well organized, it was peaceful. They're just demanding that we want our rights, we want to live in Bangladesh with our own identity. Stop those attacks, nothing else. But again, this was tagged as these people are agents of India. They are supporter of Army League. They are undermining the government. These protests are undermining the government. And after that, the Chinmoy Krishna Das and other religious leaders that actually leaded this protest were actually targeted. Chinmay Krishna Das was actually he went to so-called DGFI. I mean, this is not public domain, but we know from some other sources is military intelligence. And after a few days, he was arrested. He was arrested in a case that was filed by a BNP leader that during one of the procession in Chittagong, a Gerua flag was hoisted above the Bangladeshi flag, which is total crap because even in evidence, the two flags were in parallel, and in no way the let's say Chinmay Krishna Das was responsible for this. Even let's say his claim has to be true that the Gerua flag was hoisted above the Bangladeshi flag. Let's say too, which is absolutely false. Chinmay Krishna Das was not even let's say responsible for this. There was no evidence provided. He There was no evidence provided in court. He was not provided an lawyer. So every lawyer, so one of the lawyer, Mr. Roman, was mercilessly beaten in Shabak. He's still fighting for his life. He was in ICU. Even in Chittagong, uh, when the lawyer that, wanted to appear for Chinmay Krishna Das was threatened. Every lawyer, Hindu lawyer that wanted to appear in the Chittagong court on behalf of Chinmay Krishna, they were threatened with life, threatened with the profession. And even one lawyer actually uh, uh, attended on behalf of the Chinmay Krishna Das and asked for the bail. He was heckled in front of the judge. He was heckled in front of the judge by the other lawyers. And of course, so this was a totally mockery of justice. So the government was unable to provide a security for a lawyer in front of the justice in the open court. Can you think what kind of justice will be served for Chinmay Krishna Das? He's still rotting in jail for doing what? For nothing, only for raising voice for Hindus that we want our rights, we want to live in Bangladesh with dignity and honor, we want to remain Hindus as our forefathers, grandfathers did. That's it. And still now, no justice has been provided for Chinmay Krishna Das. And as you see, the charge sheet in which says that a Gerua flag was hoisted above Bangladeshi flag, you'll see from Caliphate for Bangladesh, Caliphate for the March for Caliphate in Bangladesh, and other incidents that these so-called right-wing extremists or Islamist, they provided so-called ISIS flag on top of Bangladeshi flags, and the armed forces, or let's say the forces that control laws in Bangladesh did nothing. But for the same so-called, because it's allegedly, it's not proven yet, for the same offense, Chinmay Krishna Das is rotting in jail. So you can see the two-face and the partition behavior of the government.
So now let me just see if we can talk about the role of the international community in all this. Now it has become very evidently clear over the last few months that this regime change was backed by the American deep state. And I'll just share one article which talked about how Yunus himself went to Washington and introduced some of the student leaders as the brains behind this whole revolution, so-called revolution. So if you could just talk a little bit about how this part of the story, which has again received very little attention, how this unfolded.
So, of course, after the chaos that erupted after 5th August, nobody knows what happening because the internet was suspended. Nobody could communicate, read what is happening. So, as time passed, we know this kind of report published, and Yunus, like the picture you are showing right now, I think the leftmost person with the just right side of the women, yes, Mahfouz, I believe this is the person Dr. Muhammad Yunus introduced as one of the, let's say, so-called mastermind or the student leader. So this is a kind of known theory, let's say, that George Soros and some other, let's say, competitors of the deep state. By the way, even the current president Donald Trump also, let's say, blame deep state for hijacking the last election that he got defeated. So it's not that something we are inventing or coined upon. So if you say in the current order of the world, the US president has also said that deep state exists. So my personal takeout is that be it deep state conspiracy or not, or it's a spontaneous protest or not, the situation of Bangladeshi Hindus is dire. This is only, let's say, if you ask to me, is concerns me, because we are too a small person to be. We are only the, let's say, the some victims in whatever deep state wanted to do in across the world. But when I see a child, Hindu child is getting raped, a woman getting raped, a man getting killed, our lands getting grabbed, so what I see is that the fate of Hindus, Bangladeshi Hindus, are not getting changed. And the international role, if you ask me, as I said earlier, it seems to me that every thing has a coin value, and it seems to me the life of the Bangladeshi Hindus have less value to anyone. Because if you see, when there is a humanitarian crisis in Gaza or other parts of the world, the so-called humanitarian people across the world, raise their voices in the same tone. But when it comes to Bangladeshi Hindus, or even, let's say, per se Hindus across the world, this is not the situation.
Very true.
As I
I
said,
think I
as I
think
say, time.
part of the blame for that goes to the Hindu community itself for not
Yes.
talking about what is happening with people who are less fortunate than us, who are not living in safe zones like we are. But Hindu society on the whole, there is definitely a lack of information. There is a lack of communication with each other. So I just want to highlight that this effort that you and your team have been putting together of recording all these hate crimes, and I think you have gathered detailed information about 280 incidents of hate crimes against Hindus. So this is exactly the kind of effort that we need to document all these attacks, to analyze it, to study it, and then to disseminate this information within our community and with the rest of the world.
Yes. So the page you're sharing. So me and several other people who are actually are working for this project. So let me give a little bit of background. So every time, so like I said, so it's like a wave, and when the wave of attacks is too big to contain, so some of the evidence come out and into the international newspaper. But every time, be it current Dr. Mohammad Yunus, be it Sheikh Hasina, be it Khaleda Zia, everyone denied categorically, hey, everything is good and peaceful in Bangladesh. Hindus are safe, we are living in harmony, and so on and so forth. They categorically lie in the face of news, press, and to the world order. So it's absolutely necessary to provide evidence, and through those evidence who says, hey, Hindus are living oil and so on and so forth. So for example, since you were sharing this, so on February 17th there was an unfortunate event happened. So there was a bus that got robbed. This bus was going towards Rajshahi in Bangladesh. So the Hindu women was singled out and was gang raped. How she was singled out, and why I say singled out, from the fast and description of the witnesses. The woman was married. She attended the kirtan, and she was wearing tilak and sidurs and sakas. And after that, actually, they took to the back of the bus, and she was brutally gang raped. Even there was a another attack. So Hindu school girl in Kurigram, that was happened, I believe, in September 17, was converted and let's say forcefully converted to Islam. She was abducted and forcefully converted to Islam. But the thing of the incident is there was a public announcement that this girl will be abducted and converted to Islam. Now tell me, and even after that, the police did nothing.
And just reading out from this incident, this horrific incident about the Hindu woman being singled out and raped on the bus by the dacoits, the
Mhm.
police is saying they have not found any information about rape. So I
Now
think this
you
again goes back to why Hindu victims are oftentimes just afraid, or they are too terrorized to even report the
yes,
crimes.
because it's like there is an unwritten understanding when it comes to the Hindu victims. So there was another witness interview. This is also available in public domain. That she was also a victim of the robbery and also sexual molestation. She was also she was a Muslim, and she said after the bus stopped, the robbery ends, everyone got out of the bus, and the women said what happened to her, and they went to the nearest police station. The women told as much as she could, even after this horrific incident. As you can understand, what kind of mental state she was after this incident happened, because her brother and husband both were held with gunpoint, with local weapons. As you can see the pain, the agony, the shame that she suffered. Even after that, she actually described what happens to her. They went to the local thana for remedy. The first and witness described that, but from the police station, they said they can do nothing. So you'll see this contradiction. So but the point is, the witness says something and police station says something else. And till now, this case, there was some arrest, but there is nothing fruitful from that point.
Just horrific.
And then, like I said, on September 17 in Kurigram, there was a public announcement. I think the perpetrator is called Alinur Rahman, and that the public announcement that this girl will be abducted and converted to Islam, and that happened actually. The girl was abducted and converted to Islam. So you see, these are completely religiously motivated, let's say, events. It's not that because there is another attempt that, hey, these are kind of crimes that happening, you know because it's not that only Hindu girls get abducted, um, or Hindu girls get raped. Yes, there are of course others victim, but when it comes to Hindus, somehow the administration, the police, kind of, let's see, we'll do what we can do. And of course, because they're Hindus and they never get justice, there has been the always soft target, because the perpetrators know that nothing happened to them. And we have from, as I said, in 2001 to 2005, let's say tens of thousands of Hindu girls are raped and forcefully converted. We have evidence of that. So there is a crime, and then there is a forceful conversion. And there is of course evidence that the Hindu maid women who is wearing sidurs and shagas are widespread harassed in public spaces, in transport, and so on. They've been teased, because of their religious identities. And even if you are a Hindu, so in Dhaka or other cities, now it's very difficult to get rent a home. The ones the owner hears that you are a Hindu, then they're unwilling to give the rent to you, because you will do your prayers that will actually do harm to their own, praying, and so on and so forth. Various kind of excuses. So as you see, this, almost every day is passing by, the living in Bangladesh for Hindus is getting difficult more difficult, bad to worse, and then obsessed. I don't know. So this is what is happening, and project evidence, like you shared, is our attempt to, let's say, uh, corroborate all this evidence, gather evidence, and to prove our statement that hey, this is happening. Hindus are being targeted for their religious identities, and the claims that made by Dr. Muhammad Yunus or anyone, that there's everything is good and peaceful, is absolutely lie.
Yeah,
And
and I just want to remind everybody to view this great website that your team has put together, and you are asking for volunteers. So if anybody would like to join this project, please do reach out to them at atrocity.evidence@gmail.com. So the information can be viewed in English, Hindi, and Bangla.
yes, thank you, Vikramji. Just want to add another note for this project. So here, right now, we have edited only the incidents that happened from August 5th to, let's say, um, December 2024. Some of the evidence of 2025 is also there, and we have, of course, 7 to 8 thousand evidence in our hand from past years, and of course, present incidents are also getting collected with evidence. But as you see, um, because of this large volume of incidents, we have to, in a systematically check news links, other evidence, and then put to the website. Because someone can say that hey, right now there is only 280 incidents, uh, but this is not 280 incidents. This is just what some, only because only few of us are working, and that is why, only there is only 280, but we have 7,000 plus incidents in our hand. And of course, eventually and for surely, we'll put them in the public. And we another thing is that we put in this GitHub IO, let's just did not buy a public domain, because we want, there is no copyright issue. A copyright thing is, you are free to use, to spread. We want to spread it everywhere so that people knows, that come to, aware that this is happening. Because this was one of the bigger question, if I get back, that we are also responsible for what is happening to us. Because if I only take into account of the Bangladeshi Hindus, what happened to us in 1971, what happened to us in 1980, 1991, 2001, 2013, 2021, 2024, we get forget. We don't tell our children that hey, this has happened to us, with our ancestors, with our mothers, with our child, with our daughter. Because we don't remind them what happened to us, so they actually tend to forget and then think we are good. They believe in this so-called lala story, lullaby, that everything, we are living in peaceful harmony in Bangladesh. But that is not the truth. That is never have been true, and that is not the history tells us what happened in India subcontinent. We have to know that right now it's Bangladesh, but it was used to be Pakistan, East Pakistan. I want to reiterate that the division happened because of the religious identity, nothing but the religious identity. The India and Pakistan got created in 1977 because of the religious identity, because Muslim people wanted their own land. This is as much as simple. The country we are living has been created based on the religious identity.
And I just want to remind everybody that when Islamism takes hold in any area, any region, any country, everybody suffers, including ordinary Muslims. And we are
Yes,
seeing that happening in Bangladesh today. So when the so-called liberals with Hindu names, they talk about this composite nationalism, or this, somehow they invent this fairy tale period of both communities living together peacefully in the Middle Ages. It does a disservice to everybody, right?
absolutely.
Because you are kind of taking people's attention away from the dangers of Islamic radicalism. And in Bharat also we see this every day. There are so many anti-Hindu hate crimes, so many exoduses of Hindus taking place within Bharat itself, and yet this does not get the attention it deserves. So now I just want to come to what you think about what should we do, what can Bharat do, and what should the international community do to change this, to allow the Bangladeshi Hindus to live with peace and dignity. Uh, because there is another aspect to it, that ordinary Hindus, they look up to their elites of
Mhm.
any society kind of set the direction for the entire community. Uh, in Bharat, we have seen Hindu elites, cricketers, film stars, they have posted in support of Gaza and the Palestinians, right? And
Yeah.
agreed, whatever is happening in the Middle East, we don't want violence to happen, it should stop. But why aren't they taking a stand for what's happening in Bangladesh, which is right next door? So there is a lot of hesitation to even talk about it. So, what is your expectation from Hindus in Bharat, other parts of the world, and from the international community?
Actually, you raised a very important question. But before I go to that point, because you raised another point, so these Islamist radicals, it's a danger for everyone. Of course, as a Hindu, they are the
We are the
first
softest
target.
target. Yeah.
Yeah, softest and the fast target, but nobody's safe from them. So we just so the 8th March was the International Women's Day, you know, and in Bangladesh, uh, there are 5 girls raped in 4 different places. Among
On that
them,
same
there
day.
was a
Yes.
sorry,
On the same day, I think on the same Women's
on a
Day, there were
single day,
five
yes, on a
rapes. Yeah,
single day.
yeah.
But of course, these are only the published events. We don't know how many got unpublished. But let's talk about these 5 girls or 5 women. So one of the women was pregnant. She got gang raped. Another, she's from Norshindi. Another girl in Gazipur. She was a girl child. She got gang raped. Another girl from Gofurgaon, Mamishing. She was also raped, and another boy child. I forgot the name of the place. He also got raped. So now, of course, if we, I mean, if we see the victims' religious identity, all of them are Muslims, and it's well known subject to Bangladesh that the boy child or girl child or almost every month they got raped in madrasa. Madrasa is a religious institution run by Muslims, and nobody's speaking about that. So there are several incidents, like I said, the incident that happened in Gulshan. There is a forced religious policing also. They're going um, to person who is walking in the road and asking to wear hijabs and burqas and so on and so forth. There is a forced religious policy. Policing is already rampant in the Bangladesh, and these kind of attacks. Like probably yesterday or day before yesterday, 2 brothers were slaughtered like a pig inside a mosque. They were Muslims. 2 brothers slaughtered. Their head were decapitated from their body inside a mosque. In Bangladesh, it's well known who decapitates the heads from the body. So, like I reiterate again, of course, Hindus are the fast and soft target, but the ones Hindus are done and dusted, it will be the Muslims next, because we have examples in front of us in Pakistan. There is Ahmadiyya community, a sect of Islam. So they are declared non-Muslims in Pakistan, and they are also persecuted. So it's not up to us to define who is Muslims or not, but at least Ahmadiyyas consider themselves Muslims, and other Muslims declare them as non-Muslims and doing whatnot. So when there will be not a single Hindus in Bangladesh, or let's say in even India, it will be among them they'll be the victims of this monster they're creating today. Now come to the second point. So yes, I've seen that Bollywood so-called stars. give hashtag and rights that, yes, like you shared, the Sufi yes, this is now a widespread event in Bangladesh, that Sufi shrines and so-called mazars and dargahs are actually vandalized, and everywhere nobody's doing nothing. And rightly, this headline says this is the extremist Islamist elements that are doing this. And there are, of course, there are hundreds of thousands of followers of these dargahs and mazars and peers. So it will be they'll be the next victim, immediate victim, after there is no Hindu left to torture, forceful conversion, raping, murdering, plundering, vandalizing their temples.
So just to add one point here, we are not saying that dargahs and shrines have also not issued calls to persecute or have not discriminated against Hindus.
No,
It's
no, no.
just that for the
Yes,
extremist, even that dargah is not, you should not worship at the grave of any Sufi saint. They believe that. So this is an internal struggle within Islam.
yes,
But even Sufi shrines, they have a very dubious track record. And in Pakistan, we see that a lot of Hindu girls are abducted and taken to these Sufi shrines, like the Bharchundi Dargah, where they are forcibly converted. So I just wanted to make that point clear. Continue, please.
yes, yes. I also agree. So, as a Hindu, of course I would forbid any Hindus to go to these dargahs, mazars, or whatever peers. Like you said, they have do. I'd like to clarify, that these are not the people to be worshipped by Hindus, at least. This is their internal religious matter. Our point is that, as we Hindus are the first and softest target, but after we are done, they are done torturing us, forceful conversion, vandalizing our temple, killing us, land grabbing. They will be the Muslims themselves with the next target. And this has been started, like you shared. These mazars, dargahs, and everything are getting vandalized because, like you said, they have their own struggle on their religious doctrines. And they'll be the victim of their own monster they're creating right now, so. And to the second point you raised, that what we expect from the world order, or let's say India, or let's say so-called humanitarian guardian of this world, and the hashtag owners of the Bollywood so-called stars. So yes, you were correct. When there is something happen in Gaza or anywhere, they are quick, prompt to write hashtag save Gaza and whatnot. Yes, they can do, of course they can do whatever they want, but the point is, there's, in my opinion, they're seasonal humanitarian. So when you, let's say, constraints only wake up from the sleep for specific incidents, then you can say this is a seasonal humanitarian, because this hashtag save Gaza owners or providers only wake up when there's something happening in Gaza. There are humanitarian crises in Bangladesh, Africa, even in Saudi Arabia invaded the country, um, and they're not speaking about that. In right now, it's in Syria, Afghanistan, of course, but nobody's speaking about it. Even in Iran, that the girls are getting hanged because they did not wear avaya and so on and so forth. But nobody is speaking about that. So this, before I go to the expectation, this is due to several reasons, in my personal opinion. One is our collective failure as a Hindu society. Like you mentioned earlier, we have failed to tell our generations that, hey, this is happening to us. Millions of Hindus have been died so far with these invaders, with the Islamists, and so on and so forth. Or whoever it is, it doesn't matter who is the perpetrator. We have failed to tell our children that this is happening to us. We have been killed. Our daughter has been raped, forcefully converted. They have been taken to slave. And that is why there was never awareness among us. By us, I don't want to stereotype. Let's say most of us, we don't know what is happening with us. This is one reason. And another reason we have seen that, um, in case of Islamist, they're very quick to mobilize. So whatever happened, it doesn't matter which corner of the world, uh, they quickly mobilize and create a strong mob. And technically, I say not all these so-called humanitarian are humanitarian, but actually they are afraid of this mob. Because I can categorically say that in even in Europe, there are places in Sweden, in UK, the police won't dare to go because of this mob. So, in my personal opinion, so there's two reasons. So these so-called humanitarian raises and wake up from their seasonal sleep during hashtag Gaza, save Gaza, and so on and so forth. One, because of the fear of the monster that they might come and bite us. Second, of course, this is a good business. You know, good business for your publicity, good business to bring money to your NGO. So to address these issues, we can do nothing but raise awareness among us. Because for me, cover the home first, then go out. Because it does not matter, like in Bangladesh, we know this is similar things happening to Hindus, even in West Bengal, other parts of India. But does another Bangladeshi Hindus knows that another fellow Hindu brothers and sisters are getting killed, forcefully abducted, raped? Because a few days ago, in Uttar Pradesh of India, if I'm not wrong, a Hindu girl or gang raped, and they used acid to wipe out the Om tattoo.
Very
Okay,
horrific incident. She
yes,
was not just gang raped, she was gang raped for 2 months by four Muslim boys, not just boys, men. And whenever she asked for food, they force fed her beef.
if
Uh, they told her that we get money to target girls like you, and you are not the first one. We have converted and done this with lots of other Hindu girls and women. So Bharat is now seeing many cases, such cases coming up every week. In Rajasthan, we have had horrific cases coming from Beawar and Bhilwara of schoolgirls being trapped. So they're groomed, they're trapped. Once they're trapped, they're blackmailed. They're made to introduce more girls to the racket, to the gang, and then they are threatened, intimidated. Girls were getting cut on their wrists. They were being told that their parents will be killed if they don't give in to the demands of the Islamist gangs. And there are elders in the Muslim society who are uh, motivating or encouraging their youngsters to do such acts. There was a counselor involved in the Biawar case. So it's happening everywhere, and I think Hindus, like you were saying, we need to talk about this trauma, this pain that a Hindu in some other part of the world is experiencing, especially in the subcontinent. And it starts with what we talk to about with our children, what we talk in our temples, the discourses that are given in our temples. Even they need to touch upon these points. That's the only
absolutely.
way to raise the consciousness.
I mean, I can give a recent example. So even I believe it's today or day before yesterday, in California there was a temple that was there was, let's say, a racist graffiti, you know, and against Hindus. So it's not like India and Bangladesh, even so-called the torch bearer of civilization in the West. This is happening in Leicester, United Kingdom. There was an attack on Hindu Indian community that was also religiously motivated. So this is widespread, but the unfortunate thing is that, um, us as Hindus, we are not aware what is happening with us. Maybe few knows, but most of them are, I'd not say ignorant. Somehow we have not able to create that environment or let's say system that we know what is happening with us. Because maybe that girl could have been saved uh, in the UP, or let's say Rajasthan, or any other places in the world, if she was aware of this menace, this grooming of girls, trapping them and then forcefully converting, is not only prevalent in, let's say, India or Bangladesh. This is prevalent here in the West also. In UK, a few days ago there was a ugly debate came out when then the old incidents, this grooming gang from since 1990 till now is, of course there's nobody knew the exact number, but this grooming gang actually from hundreds of thousands, let's say some people claim more than hundreds of thousands, some people claim 10,000, 5,000. But that is not the point. The more moods point is this grooming gang, some called jihadi gang, some called grooming gang, doesn't matter, grooming those children, targeting those children, and then raping them, and then say, hey, this person has accepted Islam because of this, you know the peaceful message in Islam and whatnot. And of course Bollywood, one of the, I know, historically it was once a close, let's say, closely worked with so-called Don Dawood Ibrahim and so on and so forth. Bollywood played a pivotal role to demonize Hinduism and its elements through its movies, through its narrates, and so on and so forth. They have always, let's say, you know, portrayed Muslim characters at the best. They did not invade it. They are always truthful. They are not deceiving. And you have to agree that when children with innocent minds or even adults sees repeatedly they are good, and Hindus and these monks and are actually devil, then it kind of ingrained in your mind and you started to believe, because uh, when one lie is repeatedly told again and again and again, people started to believe this is the truth.
I think it's a vicious cycle. We are very poorly informed. We are told the wrong history. And forget history, even current affairs. We don't remember the atrocity that happened with a Hindu last month or last week,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Whereas the other side, they will even manufacture issues and just keep them alive for years and years. The whole Godhra riots, the way it was presented, as if the trigger incident was completely forgotten, the burning of 59 pilgrims. So, because we are less informed, we lack empathy for fellow Hindus, and because we lack empathy, we are again less informed. So I think it kind of works that way, and the end result is that the Hindus who are well-to-do, who have more influence, more decision-making power, they do not act in support of persecuted Hindus. So that's a chain we have to break somewhere.
Yes, that is why I said so. Raising awareness is a pivotal here, and speak out loud as long until you are heard that hey, this is happening with Hindus. And by the way, with Godhra riots, I would like to add a point. In Godhra riots, more than 300 Hindus were also killed, and nobody speak about that. My question is, who killed these 300 plus Hindus? If you are playing victim and innocent, who killed these 300 plus Hindus after the aftermath?
And many were killed in firing, police firing, which kind of busts the myth that police did not take any action,
Any
and the
action?
government at that time allowed the riots to take place, which is totally untrue.
I mean,
So
when the other side always playing victim, even they are not the victim, on the other side, let's say, making incidents out of the thin air, even when nothing happened. And like you said, even a one incident happened, this is kept alive years after year. And we are in a vicious cycle that we are the real victim and we are portrayed as a perpetrator. And Bollywood has successfully done that. Bollywood has successfully portrayed Hindus as the perpetrator, where the reality is Hindus are the actual victim. Unfortunately, this is the truth that somehow, yes, even recent days we see Kashmir Files, Chava, and so. But even on those films, if I'm being critical, history are not correctly portrayed. This is a good step, but this is far from enough.
exactly, I totally agree.
And another thing, this is not in the perspective of, let's say, Hindus living in India, but Bangladesh. I know the reality of Bangladeshi Hindus is a bit different, but even I would like to self-criticize myself that some of the, let's say, religious organization, they're totally absolutely few. This is not a criticism. This is question I'm putting because our survival is, now almost coming to a point that we might get extinct. If we want to live with our own Hindu identity, we might not survive. So that is how I put this question. So this is a failure of our also religious organization like Ramakrishna Math and other religious gurus that Hindus follows in Bangladesh. They have not provided the proper instruction what to do. They have not raised the awareness, the forceful conversion, this grooming jihad, or let's say grooming young menace. They have not provided that the Hindus, you have to fight for yourself. Unfortunately, it's very often I see that Hindus are looking outwards for a solution. Yes, in the current global order, it's not possible to do something alone, but this initiative also has to come from ourselves, because in normal life nobody gives or hand you over your rights in a silver plate. You have to earn your rights. It's everywhere. It's a struggle everywhere, from personal life to national life. So you will get noticeable when you do something to getting noticed. And unfortunately, it's not that Hindus protested, as you shared the screen earlier, even before the arrest of Chinmay Krishna, that hundreds of thousands people protested in Chittagong and Rangpur, and this is continuously going on. Nobody noticing. Yes, this is frustrating, but we have to keep the fight going on if we want to live with our own identity. And it's not, yes, there is a large chunk of Hindus living in Bangladesh expect that something should be done from India, but India is also a complicated country with complicated political system. And like you mentioned, a girl raped in uh, UP or in Rajasthan or in Kerala or in West Bengal, even one part of in one part of India is not aware of the other part of India. So we should not
Forget,
put.
forget across states. I would say that one part of a city is not aware of what's happening in the other part of the city. In Delhi, we
Yes,
had horrific riots in 2020, which were mostly focused on Northeast Delhi. Now, I have
that,
been to other parts of Delhi, and there are exoduses taking place of Hindus in many of these pockets, because there is a pattern to how Hindus are gradually intimidated or made to leave areas. So it's
yeah, yeah.
like what we call creeping Sharia. It creeps on you year by year. But unfortunately, in Delhi, there are parts of Delhi, like West Delhi, where the concentration of Hindus is high.
Mhm.
They are good middle class areas. And the Hindus living there, if you ask them about what really happened in the Northeast Delhi riots, even they would not have all the facts, right? A party like AAP, whose councillor Tahir Hussain was
Yes.
seen explicitly on the roof of his house directing the riots. He had We had like visual evidence of how this man was conducting the riots. Then there were other AAP MLAs whose people gave eyewitness testimony that they refused to help Hindus. Despite all this, this person was getting voted by Hindus. It's only this election that he finally got defeated. So yes, there is an awakening happening, but still there is a vast number of Hindus who are unaware, and somewhere they don't even care. I'll be very bluntly honest here. Again, because of that lack of empathy, because of the way they have been brought up, the kind of media we consume, especially the English language media in Bharat, right? You look at Times of India, there is no mention on the front pages of this UP incident, right? It is something which should have shaken the soul of our nation, but still it's being downplayed. At most, it will get covered in some of the inside pages. It will just come for a day or maybe one report. But if it was something which was according to the liberal agenda, like we had the Hathras case, repeated month long, uh, year long coverage, right? Up until from the incident happening till the prosecution. So that all plays a part, in Hindus being a very low information society and thus not standing up for their rights.
Exactly. This is happening, unfortunately, years after years after years, and then we are also, because, like you said, I completely agree that because we don't know what is happening with us, we don't, let's say, grow empathy towards others, and because we don't grow empathy towards others, we don't care what is happening to the others, and because we don't care what is happening to others, we don't gather information. So it's like a, like you mentioned, vicious cycle. But this chain has to be broken. And yes, uh, I would say very slowly, few Hindus are working. I mean, of course, there are Hindus working generation after generation, because that is why Hindus religion still exist, because of the sacrifice. Um, but I would say Hindus are far away, far away from, let's say, awakening. Many people say, hey, Hindus are awakened. I say no. Um, they have not awakened, neither by politically, not religiously. This is just anyway. I don't go into the details. So there's a long way to go to raise awareness among Hindus, and it's not that it's not about Bangladeshi Hindus, Pakistani Hindus, or Indian Hindus. It's a fight for existence. Simple as that. It's a fight of existence, and it's a do or die battle. If you win the battle, you survive. You don't, you just get wiped out from the history. That's as simple as it is.
Thank you.
And
And go on.
yeah, and if we see the current world order, this of course is a political discussion. Europe and USA is, I know this is quarrels among houses, something like that, you can tell. Mud grabbing or mud grabbing, what do you say? So nobody, in a sense, of course, India is a big political player, economic player, so everyone cares about India, but not much Bangladesh, because Bangladesh doesn't have any significant political, let's say, role, or neither economic role. So that is why it's very difficult for Bangladeshi Hindus, to grab attention to the world guardians of humanity and so on and so forth. Because you see, the so-called humanitarian organization, the um, Amnesty International, and so on and so forth, they rarely give a statement about Bangladeshi Hindus. Rarely gives a statement. But on the other cases, they will see that they're very vocal. They're raising funds, and these are reason, like I said, because Bangladesh is not that politically important, and this is not a cash cow. So this
You
will,
know,
but of
on that
course,
point, even when crimes against Hindus take place in Bharat, also they don't really care. So I
yes,
think it has become evidently clear over the last few years with all of this exposes about how the US deep state uses this facade of NGOs and other organizations to
mm,
essentially pursue US national interests, or what at least the military industrial complex of US determines to be its national interest. So I think people have realized that these institutions all have an agenda,
yeah,
whether it's Amnesty International, whether it's the UNHCR, and they are basically being controlled by this cabal of the Western deep state or the Anglo deep state. And I think the world now needs to evolve its own institutions. And even China does not offer much hope in that direction, because China is also trying to manipulate narratives to align with its own interests.
yeah,
Uh, so we definitely need a new order in which countries like Bharat and others from the so-called third world, we need to rise, and take responsibility of coming up with new institutions to really evolve a new just world order. So that's another thing which needs to happen in parallel. But absolutely, it's important that Bharat has to become the voice for Hindus, whether it's a Hindu suffering in Bangladesh or the way Hindus are being treated in Pakistan, even in Malaysia. Even in the West, we are seeing increasing incidents
yeah.
of hate crimes. So Bharat has to be that voice, and it's pointless if we become an economic superpower, but we don't pay attention on these things. So both things
You're,
have to go hand in hand.
you're absolutely correct. So let me give you another example. So you may be a billionaire, you may be a millionaire, but in the end, you don't have the manpower to protect yourself. You can be an economic superpower, but the point is, will you be able to, let's say, enjoy these economic benefits? We have seen, so like you mentioned, in the Delhi, the aftermath of the riots, the Hindus are actually abandoning their houses. There was a news, I think, a couple of days before, they are raising that the house is for sale, and so on and so forth.
It's in the
This is not a
Brahmpuri area.
unique, yeah. So this is not a unique event happening in India. You will see in United Kingdom also, the so-called white people. I personally don't like tagging people with color, but let's say the British people, white people, are also going away from the cities because of the same menace. So they are going away farther and farther to the villages and so forth to avoid this area. So if you go to now London, it's well known that London is divided in some. This is the Indian zone, this is a Pakistani zone, this is a Bangladeshi zone, this is I don't know, Russian zone, and so on and so forth. And among them, of course, like you mentioned, this is creeping Sharia or creeping grooming gang is, extending its hands.
Very true.
Even in Brussels, where the European Union headquarters is, during the World Cup, Football World Cup, um, people with, let's say, immigration background and with Islamic religious identity created lawlessness, complete lawlessness, and they could not do anything. And this is the danger. So I personally think India has not done enough, far from enough. Enough is even better, good word. India has done far from enough to protect its own people, specifically Hindus in India. And of course, Indian political system is complex, but the moot point is has not done enough. Now, how can we improve? This could be another discussion for another day, but has not done enough. But I would like to reiterate: political power is not perpetual. You can, for example, you can take current president Donald Trump. You can hate him, you can love him, you can support him, you can absolutely be disgusted by his words. Doesn't matter. But what was his agenda? His gold on his words. You can criticize his policies, but he is doing what he promised to do from the day one he entered the Oval Office. Because today you can have power, tomorrow you have nothing. Nobody imagines Hasina would be ousted even before 4th of August, and she got ousted on 5th August. So when people say that India right now, India is so-called Hindutva government and so on and so forth, I say India is a complex political system, and this government has been completely secular, because by constitution India is a secular country. So yeah, so in my personal opinion, the India has not done enough for whatever reason. Mood point is has not done enough, and right now the world is changing so fast. I don't know when it will be the best time. If it's not now, it's probably will never, and it will be too late, because with the so fast demographical change, there will be nothing to left actually.
No, I agree with you, and also the point that you made about India or Bharat's socio-political reality is very complicated. There is a
Yes.
lot of historical baggage that we haven't managed to get rid of yet, and we have also realized that it's not just the legislature or the executive which exercises power. There are competing parallel power centers in Bharat,
Yes.
which have deep roots, and in a way, we can think of it as the Indian deep state. So any elected government uh, quickly realizes that there are limits to its power, and so there's a tussle going on. Absolutely, I also share that same sense of frustration to some extent about why the Indian state is not able to do more. Uh, but I think it's an ongoing project, and we all have to play our part in it. So I would just like to thank you for joining us today, talking to us, and your team for doing the excellent work of documenting in such precision, in such detail, all these hate crimes that are taking place.
I
Thank you
also
once
want to
again.
thank you, Vikramji, for inviting me. And the fight is for all of us, it's upon us. Our ancestors survived. Now it's upon us to continue this fight. And we'll not stop until we are winner. So, and we must have to continue the task to raise awareness among our Hindu brothers and sisters across the world. So I'd like to thank you again and finish with a note of hope that we'll survive.
I agree.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
namaste.
Namaste.